There's no way. Is some of it BS? Of course it is. Is 100%
Wait,
BS?
John
Absolutely
Rocker
not.
does not believe all women. If a woman says she's raped by an alien, you are not buying it?
In that situation, Matt, is it okay to ask what you were wearing? I was raped by an alien. What were you
No,
wearing?
it's not. By the way, I've never even heard that from a chick. It's mostly weird dudes who say they were
Yeah,
raped by
that
an
is.
alien.
Ones that have been living off the grid.
That were on military missions back to the Pentagon, and it not only happened once, it happened on multiple occasions.
Yeah,
So you have
there's too many stories
multiple
like that.
occasions from multiple sources this
Yeah.
happening, it being fully documented. A United States congressman shared it today.
Yeah, and
There are people who say we're the conspiracy theorists. I think if you don't believe that there are other forces in the universe, you're the conspiracy theorist.
a little bit narcissistic, if you ask me. But yeah, I mean, would the CIA, would the Pentagon, would they have these secret files, these top secret redacted files on stuff like this? If there wasn't something to it, if there were anything to it, they would have no files. There would be nothing.
By the way, let me make an argument on the other side of that. So I don't think I've ever shared this before. Kevin McCarthy, someone I'm somewhat linked to in history because I removed him as the House Speaker. Before he was the Speaker of the House, he was the Majority Leader, and he sat a group of congressmen down and he said, "I want you to know this: there are no aliens. I do not believe there are aliens because if there were aliens, there would be a lobbyist and a special interest group trying to get federal money for this, and they would be making campaign donations, and I would know who they were."
Now, is that a serious comment, or is he being a smartass?
No, that was like a straight up like, I know this isn't true because if there was anything that was out there, there would be a way to monetize it politically. And he meant that sincerely. Now, it ultimately revealed something kind of dark about our politics, but I thought it was funny nonetheless.
I would think
like,
you.
the
I would
majority
think
leader's like,
if
"Oh,
I
there's
said
no
that, I would be
lobbyists, so
being
it can't be
sarcastic.
true."
Yeah, I'd be being sarcastic. If I made that comment, I would be being a smartass.
Yeah, I feel like that was a pretty self-centered comment by McCarthy for sure. If you bring it back real quick to what John was saying about Skinwalker Ranch, I mean, Skinwalker Ranch is a perfect example where the original, not the original farm owners, but the original guy that bought Skinwalker Ranch to study it was Bigelow, who owns
Yeah,
Bigelow Aerospace, and that's Harry Reid's friend, one of the highest ranking Democrats in our country prior to his passing. So you have to ask yourself, you would think Harry Reid knows a thing or two. Why the hell is his best friend buying Skinwalker Ranch? Not only did he buy Skinwalker Ranch, he assembled a team of like 15 incredible scientists in all different genres of science to monitor things. And then they
and
pass it on.
not an unserious man by any means. A very serious man. Yeah. So if it is a joke, why would someone of that caliber, that stature, take on an endeavor like that?
Exactly. What do they know? What are they interested in? You have to think that there's got to be something out there. And what is Harry Reid saying to a guy like Bigelow, who owns Bigelow Aerospace, right? Because it's a lot easier to push your agenda through somebody else. And you could have a conversation late at night, see what's going on, and kick it off to someone else who is Bigelow, and then it's not going to come back on you.
Let's
So you
get the
could
top secret files released. Let's see it, people.
By the way, it's not uncommon to have the greatest secrets maintained by the defense contractors, not the government. Even outside of the question of aliens, so much of the highly compartmentalized information around stealth, around radar, around propulsion, around thermodynamics is all maintained by defense contractors. And I think
money can disappear in a black budget project through Lockheed, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, something like that, right? It's just gone into the abyss. They don't have to disclose what they're doing.
Yeah, but then but the private companies, they also don't have to keep those a top secret. They don't have a top secret file, CIA, Pentagon type stuff. They can unless it's a money type thing. I don't let my secrets out. Let my competitors get a hold of what I have to get a hold of and compete with me. Which that may be the thinking
Yeah,
there.
but like, how many people do you think you have to kill to be the head of Lockheed Martin? I mean,
Why don't you just ask the head of Lockheed Martin?
I
How
would
many people
only
you
assume
killed?
it would
Yeah.
be a number greater than 0.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I really can't
Which
imagine.
which brings into where are 12 missing scientists? Where are they at?
Yeah, tell us about McCaslin, Gaetz. Matt
Not
Gaetz.
a
We want to
not
know
a
about General McCaslin.
Well, I was asking Congressman Tim Burchett about this on my television show tonight because what is so remarkable about some of these disappearances is that there is no evidentiary development. Usually, in any type of investigation like this, okay, right now you have a certain set of evidence, but then you find some DNA, then you find a footprint, then you get access to a camera or a text message or a communication record, and here there's just no factual development around anything regarding these key disappearances. And the one that really gets me is the cat who was supposed to come testify before Congress. And then it's like, oh, well, he accidentally OD'd on too much hooch and prescription drugs or whatever, just in the moments before. I mean,
is anyone looking at the Clintons?
Always.
Do you think
Yeah, they got their
always
fingers
be
all
one
over
thing.
this. I guarantee it.
Bill kind of looks like he might be a reptilian. Do you believe in reptilians, Matt?
No. I'm a mammal supremacist.
That's a new one. Let the left get a hold of that one. Let the left get a hold of that.
That's right. That's right. By the way, I live every day to exemplify my mammalian privilege.
Now, do you think you're better than a dog? Do you think you're better than a deer?
I hope so. I live every day to try to be better than
a dog. Be better than a hamster. Okay.
Matt, I'm curious. Have you heard of the names Michael Herrera or Jake Barber who testified in Congress in the last year or two? Mike Herrera was in 2023.
Yes.
I was asking you because I was doing a little bit of research and I kind of came into an interesting conclusion personally, and I wanted to get your opinion on this. You had talked about these human alien hybrid type programs. So Michael Herrera's testimony is really fascinating, and it involves in Indonesia in 2009, where he was a Marine Corps infantry member brought over to Indonesia after a big earthquake over there, where they were doing a humanitarian effort. They walked up on what they said was a craft that he said it was darker than matte black. It was like a black abyss. It was 8-sided, like octagonal, I think, about 300 feet across, hovering above the ground. He said they were approached by guys in full blacked out military gear with no American insignia, no American ID, nothing. They walked up on him, guns pointed at him. What the hell are you guys doing here? Blah, blah, blah. He thought that so they're watching a UFO craft that these military guys were around, that they were obviously unmarked. He thought that he walked up on a drug smuggling operation. Later, when he testified, Jake Barber came to him and said they were smuggling humans. And when I heard that, and I heard you talking about the human alien type programs, Jake Barber flat out said the humans that are being smuggled are for the human alien hybrid programs. I thought there was a fascinating connection.
The briefing I got made these same allegations about how the humans for this program were harvested. Because I asked that, I was like, well, wait a second. I get how you get the aliens. They under this theory of the case, they land here in some sort of crash, and you got to do something with them. So you go and incarcerate them in some way. But
teach them how to play basketball.
Yeah, how in the hell do you get like the humans? And they say, oh no, it is natural disasters. They said actually, sadly, the unaccompanied minor crisis and the caravans that just had like kind of unaccountable swaths of humans in Central America, running up through the Darien Gap and across the U.S. Mexico border. And then they said the Ukraine war. The person said, like, where you have all these, like, kind of dead adults, and you got all these kids running around,
Just
and,
chaos, no accountability. Yeah,
yeah,
pretty easy.
again. I will stress again that my general counsel believed this to be a counterintelligence operation, but the allegation was the same, that in places of great human peril, chaos, uncertainty, and no accountability, that is where the humans were harvested for that project.
Wow. When that gentleman is coming into your office and he is saying this stuff to you, I know that it seems kind of outlandish, but is he talking to you under oath? It,
No, no under oath and no classification, but it was a constituent. It was someone who lived in my community, and I was just kind of the kind of congressman where if you lived in my community, if you paid my salary, even if it was just a 5-minute meeting, I would meet with you.
I
When I
I
heard the
live in your
substance,
community, Matt, and we all know some of the characters that live here in Northwest Florida.
oh brother, it's so
We see
great.
them.
It's the
We
best
see them.
place.
Yeah.
They were all Braves fans watching in the late '90s as John Rocker was throwing the 96 mile an hour slider off of his 99 mile an hour
And
fastball.
like I say, Matt, I am the Pied Piper of rednecks. These people, they are my people. These people are my people. Go, if you don't believe me, go to a NASCAR race with me. I'll prove it
Oh
to you.
no, you are beloved by. You play
Those
baseball in a
types.
way it's not
Yeah.
played right now, especially the whole. You kind of you really the closer role, the whole mentality that has to go into it, the fact that you're going to get like raw aggression for a specified period of time, that like how to harness that night after night. Like how do you
Yeah.
live a life where you're like, my whole fucking job is to show up and bring you like raw energy, hatred, and fire for like 20 minutes of like the top of a ninth inning.
Amphetamines, Matt Gates, amphetamines.
John, you're like a real life Charlie Sheen.
Yeah,
Tiger
yeah,
blood,
yeah, yeah.
baby.
Yep, you got. Actually, do you know where that quote came from?
I want to hear.
Remember the closer for, I can't call his name right now. The closer for San Fran back when Charlie was having his meltdown. They called him the beard. That jet black beard. The guy was he was
Oh,
on my
hmm
level of crazy. They were friends, and when Charlie was having his meltdown, called him up. Can't remember the closer's name, but it was the closer that gave him that phrase, Tiger Blood.
damn.
He's like,
Was
well, Charlie,
it wasn't
people like
Rob
me and
Nen.
you, we're
Was it
different.
Rob Nen?
No, it wasn't Rob. No, Rob was in my ear. This guy was like, 2010, 2012, 14 guy. Whenever Charlie was having that mental breakdown or whatever the hell he had. But they were talking, and I heard Charlie maybe on the Rogan show was talking about that. He's like, I called up again, can't think of the guy's name. You don't bring people up when you can't think of their name, but I'm sorry, I can't think of his name. And he's like, Charlie, people like you, we're different than everybody else. We got tiger blood in our veins. And that's where Charlie got
How do
the,
you
the
come
phrase
down
tiger
off of
blood.
that? How do you strike out somebody to end the game in the ninth inning after your whole fucking day is built to like bring mass aggression in that moment? Like, what are you supposed to do to come up? I would be awake till like 5 in the morning if I had to do that.
Well, you drink milk to get rid of the effects of the amphetamines. That's what you do with that. And after a while, I mean, it's part of the job. You play a character. When Toe crosses that white line, I'm playing a character. I am. And I've got to get in that middle space. And when I cross the other side of that white line, it's almost like Field of Dreams.
Hey,
You
John,
know.
speaking of baseball and characters, what do you think of Kenny Powers? You think that you guys have some relations, or are you
Oh,
more of a
we
watcher?
definitely do. I'll tell
Yeah.
you, we definitely do. Obviously, Will Ferrell, he spoofed me on Silent Loud a couple times, and Will was one of the creators of that show. But there's something that will actually just blow your fucking mind here. Danny McBride. I was born in the Bullitt County Hospital in Statesboro, Georgia. I mean, Statesboro, Georgia is as big as my neighborhood. Especially back in '74, tiny ass little town. I was born in the Bullitt County Hospital in Statesboro, Georgia in 1974. Danny McBride was born in the Bullitt County and you know,
Andrew
and
Jones, yeah. Yeah,
Ted
you had,
passed
I
away
mean,
two
oh my
weeks ago.
God.
Yeah, actually, I did. I've got a show on Rumble now, the John Rocker and Southside Steve show on Rumble, and we did a show on Bobby today. I told some has always been the comment associated with Bobby. But yeah, I thought the world of that man. He was just he's just one of the we call him old crusty baseball guys. He was just an old crusty baseball guy, man. That's a
Back then.
compliment, not derogatory.
Yeah. And you probably gave him his hands full with you. You were a big personality on that big team.
Yeah, and he handled me just fine. He was
That's
just
awesome.
he was the best. I just can't. I mean, he's in the same cloth of a Joe Torre, a Dusty Baker. Um, yeah, just the same cloth of those guys. He's just an
John,
iconic
every
baseball man.
closer blows some saves, and that's the moment when a manager's confidence gets tested, your relationship gets tested. Is there ever a moment where you wanted that ball in the ninth, and you didn't get it?
Yeah, plenty of times. But you know, I want the ball. Bobby, walk out and take the ball out of Greg Maddox's hands and give it to me. Take the ball out of John Splain and give it to me. So I mean, I'm asking him to take the ball out of a future Hall of Famer's hands. Because there'd be plenty of times they had cameras. You know, they could see in the dugout, you know, of me in the bullpen and me pacing back and forth. And you know, when they would go out and visit with Greg in the ninth with you know one out and one on, I think I'm coming in, and then and leave Greg out there, and you could see me chunking the ball against the wall and kicking dirt and just being pissed because like I'm wanting to go in, and they're leaving Greg out there. So there's I never would go in and you know and say anything to Bobby. Obviously, he's the Hall of Fame manager, and I'm just one of the employees there. But yeah, but you know, as a manager, you want that out of your closer. You want a guy that like get me the hell out there, man. Let's go. You don't want a closer that's scared of being in the game, scared of the moment. You definitely don't want that.
Yeah,
Oh, that's great.
I would imagine that fear is something that you do not want to have at all in a closer.
I
Matt,
learned a quote years ago from Joe Namath. Just a very simple, quick, easy quote. What can fear do for me? Nothing.
I like that.
Absolutely nothing.
Speaking of fear, Matt, are you afraid of some of the stuff that you know in regards to, aliens and disclosure? And what do you think about Donald Trump? And I heard that he's on a need to know basis. Do you believe that? Did he just drop?
they got him. The Men
They
in Black
abducted
just
him.
packed. Guys, the Men in Black just got Matt. He's gone. All right,
Oh my
John, you better choose your words or wisely now. They're coming for us.
god.
Yeah,
John,
this when it comes to like I read the questions prior to, and then they're all like you know Matt and his experience in Congress. They're all like you know like stuff he's got inside knowledge to. I'm just an idiot athlete. What the hell do I know?
John, tell me, what do you think about the moon? Why did we go to the moon supposedly in the 60s and then we haven't been back? What's the story there?
I have no idea. I know it's not made of cheese. I know that.
But is it hollow? Is it
Um,
My
hollow?
question about the moon is, how do we have enough technology in our pockets where it's like more than what we went to the moon with, and somehow have not been back?
That makes
is
no
it a money
sense.
thing? Maybe it's a financial thing. Maybe it's you know the juice isn't worth the squeeze. You know what's the point? You know kind of
Hmm.
thing.
Maybe we never
Um,
left. Maybe we went there and found some shit, and maybe they've been going up there. Who knows? But
yeah, or maybe we went there, found some shit, scared the shit out of us. We're like,
that
yeah, we're gonna
too.
stay with them there for a while.
Yeah, Buzz Aldrin said they were watching them. He's seen
Yeah,
them. He's
Hmm.
seen them
who
watching them.
knows? Yeah, there's a quote from the movie Tommy Boy by Dan Aykroyd's character in Tommy Boy. What the American public doesn't know is what makes them the American public. There's so much stuff that you and I will never know in our little civilian lives. Yeah, that makes us the American public. What we don't know is what makes us the American public. There's no telling the stuff that we don't know out there.
I got a question for
We're the
both of you
sheeple.
guys. What do you guys think about the theory that we are the aliens, that we've lost our history, we forgot our past, we have no idea where we came from? Wouldn't it be the most ironic thing if we've been going around looking for the aliens the whole time and it's actually us? ET phone home, but it's really us trying to figure out who we are and where we were in the past.
We are not the aliens.
Now you just made
So,
my head
so
explode.
Matt, what do you think? Is Donald Trump have a speech prepared to tell the world there are aliens, and is he really on a need to know basis? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think that Trump is very deeply focused on worldly things, right? The war with Iran, inflation, the price of gas. I think that's his central focus, and he's a boomer, and I don't know that the boomers are really are really raising their gaze to the intergalactic possibilities that are out there. So, I look, even Elon is not like fully with us on it, and he's Trump's space guy.
Again, is he saying the right things? To with cameras in his face, and then behind when cameras shut off, he thinks something different.
No, I mean, knowing Trump as I do, you get the same guy when the cameras are on and the cameras are off. Trump does not even have the ability to be a different guy when the cameras are on. He is
Well,
literally the same dude.
I'm talking about Elon Musk. Is he
Oh,
is he saying
Elon.
for the cameras? Cameras are off.
Oh yeah, no, no, no.
Private, he'll say something
Elon
different to
knows
you.
the difference. Elon knows the difference.
Yeah,
He definitely is willing to be a little edgier when the cameras are off.
yeah,
And like,
playing that psyop game.
yeah, well, he also knows how a sentence that he like says can change stock prices and fortunes and markets. The guy's got like a 1.5 trillion dollar market cap. So I think he walks in public with some appreciation and understanding of that.
Yeah, and he's definitely very socially awkward, but yeah, what just brilliant man. Good God.
So
Matt, I want to hop in and I'm curious as to your take. I think you have a really interesting perspective coming from Congress and whatnot, and what you may have seen. There are levels to military and politics where you get to top security clearance levels, right? And as just an average American guy, I look at people like Rep Luna or Tim Burchett or Burleson, who you mentioned earlier, and quite often these people say that they're trying to dive and down these rabbit holes and they're stonewalled. I mean, they're getting to areas where they're told they're not allowed to see certain things, yet they have the clearance to see said thing. Recently, Tulsi Gabbard, this was this week actually, she said that the CIA walked straight into her office and took 40 boxes of documents, mostly pertaining to MK Ultra, and just left with them. It it's fascinating as just an American guy that doesn't really understand how this works. We're told that you hit certain levels and you have access to this information, but it appears that there are people we don't know about that have even higher access. Tell us about that. What is that about?
So I think the record was corrected on the Tulsi Gabbard matter. That was something that had occurred earlier. It was a set aside. It wasn't really a raid. I would point you to the DNI's spokesperson clarification on that point. But on the matter of the levels of security clearance, there are levels. Look, if you're a congressman who gets elected from Arkansas and you end up on the Natural Resources Committee, you don't have the same access as someone who's on the Armed Services Committee. If you're on the Financial Services Committee, it's not the same access as someone who's on the Intelligence Committee. And then there's the Gang of Eight, right? That's the top group in Congress that gets the most special compartmentalized program access. So even like I was on the Armed Services Committee, so I had special access program classification, but that was only as it pertained to specific projects or programs that I was read in on. And a huge part of the game, I realized, was just what you ask to be read in on. If you don't show up and ask to be read in on stuff, there's a whole infrastructure built to just kind of keep you on the hamster wheel. And the your elected leaders spend about 60 to 70% of their time raising money, and that is not really illustrative of understanding of deeper truths.
Yeah, you only got everybody only 24 hours in a day.
Tim Burchett recently said, I believe a week ago or so, he said that he was told by another politician in a meeting that even Donald Trump is on a need to know for this type of stuff. Is that true?
I believe Tim Burchett in that attestation, and I think that uh, there are there are people who try to occupy the president's day with their own agenda, not maybe with the most important things going on, and everyone's trying to compete for every minute of any president's time, right? And so if you can fill that time with other stuff like, Iran's going to have a nuclear weapon in the next 20 minutes, then maybe some of these more consequential things don't get the attention they deserve.
Fascinating. Have you heard or do you know of any type of correlation between this type of phenomenon? You did say earlier that you believe in this type of thing. Do you see any correlation between whether it's the craft or beings themselves and like nuclear facilities, energy generating facilities? We have so many stories that go back, starting with the quote unquote Roswell incident. And there's a lot of activity around nuclear detonations, test sites in Nevada, also nuclear installations all over the country where people that work at the facilities have fascinating stories about nuclear warheads going offline. And I mean, these are highly decorated people. Do you know anything about this? Do you think there's a correlation here?
Well, all I could point to is what Congressman Burchett has shared with me about what he thinks the goals are of any beings that are traversing Earth, and that is resource extraction. And so, if resource extraction was the goal, it wouldn't be too hard to make the leap that where there is this great creation of power and energy and usable material, that would be like a moth to the flame type situation. But I have no specific knowledge.
Interesting, interesting. We have a Interstellar. He had his hand up a little bit. I think he has a pretty interesting question for you, Matt. Go ahead, Interstellar.
Cheers, Maga. Hey, Matt. I want to ask you a question. Other than the alien hybrid stuff that you were briefed on, have you ever learned anything about the phenomena that has kept you up at night or given you ontological shock?
Well, I'm highly impervious to ontological shock and being kept up at night, but I think that some of the most troubling things that have kind of haunted me during the waking hours was just some of the radar signatures I've seen that don't make any sense, and they can be lashed to human observations, and it's stuff that I've been briefed on by test pilots who were doing stuff over New Mexico, and maybe there's an explanation out of some sort of DARPA program. I've tried to track those things down, but I know
Well,
what I'm looking at when I look at a video and when I look at radar, and when everyone else who looks at that says you have multiple points of data, and we don't know how that kind of propulsion works. We do not know how that type of MERV right works. Like a nuclear warhead will MERV and break into different pieces, and then detonate. But here you have things, that are able to reconstitute in ways that define our understanding of physics, and
right.
that's just so bizarre to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cheers,
yeah.
Matt.
We actually have a video like that, and Crypto Data is here. He can explain. He helped facilitate get this type of video. We showed Brian Callen, if you're familiar with him. He's been on the Joe Rogan podcast a bunch. He was with us yesterday. But I'd love to get with you and show you this video that we have. Data, would you like to just talk a little bit about it? You have some more firsthand knowledge of it.
Absolutely. And Matt, it's a pleasure to have you on here. And yeah, just a little bit of background about myself. So I was a prior Air Force officer for 8 years, and I flew on a high vis aircraft. And on the targeting pod, we actually were able to catch a UFO, and it was around 32,000 feet in the United States. This was in 2022, and it had a lot of the same movement as we've seen on certain videos such as the tic tac and other videos as well, where you had the instantaneous movement, and then also, like you said, reconstitute. So towards the end of the video it actually disappeared, and this was the same where we went white hot, black hot, change of polarity, and it didn't show any means of propulsion, as you mentioned earlier. And so that was something that caught us by surprise. And obviously we asked the pilots if they had visual of it, but they were in formation, so they couldn't look at the time. But I completely agree with you. It's one of those things that defy the laws of physics. And whether it's our tech, which I think think a lot of it is after talking with a lot of high people in the government. But also, I do think there's that 5% of NHI, right? Non human intelligence. And I think we'll really start to find that out this year and next year. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of photos, and something that I know a lot of people are, waiting to see is those clear photos. And so, my question to you as well, just kind of a piggyback on that, is has there been, any clear photos that have basically shown you solid proof of, hey, these things aren't from this world, or we don't have anything like this, or anything that really, I know USOs and underwater craft is also something that's been talked about.
I would say no as to photos because a photo is just, as you know, a snapshot. It doesn't tell a full story. I would say to me, it is the combination of the same event being viewed in publicly available video and non-publicly available, uh, like radar and other sequencing data collection, where you say, well, I mean, we do not know how to do that. And if we knew that any one of our adversaries knew how to do that, there would be reports on it. And so that is I think you've identified the percentage kind of correctly, but that is the stuff where you look at it and say, well, then how is this happening? I don't have the answers to those questions, but I applaud the lawmakers who are trying to find them.
I found a really interesting interview with Dr. Gary Nolan out of Stanford. He's a currently tenured professor, and he talked about the taking photos of these crafts. And the way that he described it is, these crafts, if they're operating how we are witnessing them operate, they're operating out of our boundary of physics as we understand. So what he said is they're in their own bubble, like a gravity bubble or a plasma bubble. And he said it would be like being in a koi pond, and you're standing above the koi pond and you want to take a picture of the fish, and it doesn't turn out good in the camera because you're looking through another fluid. That, I thought that was a really, really good description of what he says we're seeing. And that is Dr. Gary Nolan out of Stanford. That's why he says we cannot get clear pictures of these things.
Well, what do you guys feel? And this is one of my his favorite interviews. Rogan's had this guy on his show many times, Bob Lazar. What do y'all is y'all's thoughts on Bob Lazar's 5 or 6 hours of testimony on multiple Rogan podcasts? I find that guy just emphatically fascinating. What are your thoughts on the things that he says, seeing it firsthand?
I would love to hear what Matt has to say. Real quick, I'll say that one of the things I find most fascinating about Bob Lazar's testimony, out of all the incredible things, he called out element 115 on the periodic table way before element 115 existed.
Yeah,
Make it make sense. So when he called out element 115 being responsible for the propulsion system on this craft, the periodic table only went up to like 104 or something. Years down the road, element 115 comes out and he nailed it. He talked about it way ahead of time. So he clearly knew something big. He was also on the cover of the newspaper in a Honda Civic with a rocket and a jet engine out of the back of his Civic as a 15, 16-year-old kid. So the guy was an absolute genius.
yeah.
I find that fascinating. Matt, what do you think about Bob Lazar? Do you know anything about his story?
I do. I followed his journalism on the subject. I don't know what to think of him. I wouldn't be a validator, but I don't think I'm in a position to be a critic. I'm probably just a viewer.
Yeah, and of course the conspiracy theorists on the other side, they try to discredit Bob Lazar and all the things he said about was it Columbia he supposedly went to. There's no record of him being at Columbia. Of course, they try to discredit the guy, but I mean, just either he's one of the best, he's an L. Ron Hubbard type as far as being a sci-fi writer and a sci-fi type mind space kind of guy, or he's telling the truth. Um, yeah, and you
You
got
know,
you got some real weird things about yourself if you're willing to go on a podcast that gets millions and millions of viewers and just can be completely full of shit on something that, like, when you say it, the first thing out of people's minds are like, yeah, this guy's full of shit. But you're willing to say it anyway.
Real quick, just to add on to that. So, whenever I was in the Air Force, we actually had training missions that were over the Nevada desert near Area 51. And during the briefs, they actually said you can't look, shine your targeting pod in that area. You can't even look in that area whenever we're flying over it. And so they're very, very secretive about Area 51.
If there's no there, then why are those your instructions? If there's no there.
Exactly.
Another fascinating thing about Bob Lazar that I find just incredible was George Knapp. When he got a hold of George Knapp, George said, "Show me something, like prove it. Show me something." So Bob said, "Okay, meet me out here in the middle of the desert." I think it was like a Wednesday at 2 a.m. or something crazy. It was when Bob Lazar said they had done traffic studies to determine the least amount of people were on the road, and that is when they flew these aircraft. So guess what? He brought George Knapp out with one other guy, and right when Bob Lazar said these craft would be flying, they were. That is, I mean, how do you disprove that? It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah. I'm definitely on the side of the conspiracy theory that there is something out there. Again, I'm just some dumb athlete, but yeah, I find this stuff so fascinating. I really do.
No, there is definitely something out there. I read Panda had his hand up for a little bit, and I think he has a really good question for Matt if he's still on.
Is he still on, or did he drop? Also, great space so far, guys. Shows me
Kind of.
yeah. I don't think he's on the panel or in this listener. We'll wait for him. All good.
I was gonna ask him, and maybe one of you guys can chime in. I was gonna ask Matt about Antarctica. Why can we not get along with anything on Earth, yet these countries have a treaty in Antarctica? What do you think about that, John? Anyone else up here? What's your opinion on that? That make it make sense. No one in this Earth can get along. We don't like each other, yet we all have a treaty there where we basically shake hands and we don't fight each other. We don't allow anyone else really to go down there. Then you have the whole Admiral Byrd story that you could very easily look up that is fascinating, where supposedly he went down to Antarctica with 3,000 troops and then hightailed it out of there. What
Yeah.
do you guys think about this?
I'm not educated enough to talk about that. Of course, I've seen the documentaries and that kind of thing. I just think it's more proof that there is some, to use the expression again, there is some there. There just is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A spin-off civilization of humans. Maybe it's a safe haven for the hybrids or whatever aliens that are on this earth and living here.
If you want to have a safe haven, go there because nobody else wants to be there.
Well, I mean,
Negative
according to
80.
according to Admiral Byrd, though, he found like trees and forests and animals and everything else. So it wasn't an ice sheet. So that's another curveball too for you. No puns intended there.
Yeah, fascinating stuff, and is everything we're doing here is all conjecture. It's all what ifs and what ifs and what ifs. But there's enough what ifs out there that I think something definitely exists. Can our little human brains wrap around this big enigma and figure it out? I'm not sure that humans are smart enough to do that. But yeah, it's certainly fun to talk about.
Hey, John, you've been in President Trump's circle, I'm told, and just out of curiosity, what would you put the percentage of Donald Trump releasing alien files and saying that aliens are real? And then to take it even a step further, in my opinion, he's the first world leader. He's the biggest brand man out there. I really think that he's going to really take the reins on this. I mean, you see, government officials in Japan talking about releasing alien files. I think this is something that Trump's going to brand, hence make aliens great again.
Um, you're putting this question to me. I'm some authority on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And again, what Matt was alluding to earlier, he's got bigger fish to fry. He's got nuclear Iran to deal with. He's got inflation to deal with, and trying to make the American people, our lives better and safer, et cetera, et cetera. I think this is kind of down the totem pole as far as importance to him. If anything ever, settles and he gets a couple of boring months of, putting out forest fires. I think maybe this could be something he would focus on, but I think right now, as far as the immediate future of the American human race, I think he's probably a lot more focused on that than he is trying to figure out if ET is trying to listen to our thoughts.
Right. No, I totally get your perspective on it. I just would push back and say, it seems like this is the year for disclosure. I mean, we see Tim Burchett and these skiff meetings happening. Donald Trump did come out and say that, he directed Pete Hegseth to release the alien files. So it does seem like this is the year and he wants to spearhead it.
I hope you're right. I would love to know like everybody else would.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got Red Panda. You had your hand up for a bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just ask you guys though. It's always a fun question. What do you guys think is going on? I had this for Matt, but since I don't know if he's coming back or not. I was gonna ask him what he thinks after everything he's been briefed on. But we have all these theories. Luna's basically saying she thinks they're angels. Some people are saying future humans, interdimensional beings. There's the 4chan whistleblower who says it's like an AI underwater manufacturing facility. I'm curious what the panel thinks. We all have dig into this topic.
Man, we could talk forever about that. Rep Luna is big on the religious side of this, and I don't necessarily think she's wrong. I just try to dig and do as much research as I possibly can, and I try to not discredit anything until I get deep down, and I really can. One thing that I find fascinating about what Rep Luna says is she talks about the Book of Enoch and how this she thinks that this ties in. And she does have a point where it's very, very strange how the Book of Enoch was removed from religion. And she thinks that the Nephilim and Anunnaki and that whole type of thing kind of ties into this. I don't know if that's true, but I do personally find it very strange that a whole entire book that was written at the same time as all these other religious texts was just removed by the Vatican because they didn't like it. And what did it talk about? It talked about beings coming from other worlds, coming down to Earth and breeding with our women. This is what the Book of Enoch talked about. So it is fascinating when you hear, like Matt Gaetz just talked about, that he was told about an alien hybrid breeding program. I think that if somebody's removing information like that, there's probably something to it. I just
They
don't know
they they
exactly
they
what
had
it is.
their own CIA, 3,000 years ago too, evidently, with
Absolutely.
their top secret files, evidently back then too.
Yeah, evidently the Book of Enoch was held in a church in Ethiopia, and without that church, it never would have been held onto. So I do find that fascinating. I don't know exactly what's going on. I think there's a lot going on here. I find it fascinating how every single religious text on earth talks about a great flood story of some level. These are like religions that contradict each other, right? They all talk about biblical level floods. We also have in all like ancient cultures a lot of depictions of star people and a lot of relationships to the stars. And then you get into the whole thing, was what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did we learn math or was math given to us? So think
Yeah,
about that. Like even the alignment of the Giza Plateau, right? It's in perfect alignment to the belt of Orion. The Sphinx was facing the constellation Leo in the sky, and that's on a 26,000 year cycle. So, like, we're taught that all these people were kind of, I mean, cavemen essentially, yet they have knowledge on 26,000 year cycles without an iPhone, without a calculator. So,
Do
I
you
think
think
I,
do you think the Sphinx and the pyramids were like some kind of message to future humans? Maybe.
and that's one question I have as well. Did humans build the pyramids?
well,
I would say not a chance in hell.
Joe McMoneagle, who was, you could just look up the name Joe McMoneagle. He was part of the remote viewing program. This is from our CIA. So it was a high level CIA dude. And he was the most successful remote viewer we ever had. He actually is the one that broke the lid on the Russian nuclear submarine that was 150 times bigger than anything, or I'm sorry, 150% bigger than anything we had at the time. They thought he was crazy, but he turned out to be dead accurate. Joe McMoneagle claims to, and this is like declassified shit, to have remote viewed numerous planets, Mars being one of them, and he said that there's pyramids and megalithic structures on numerous planets. When he disclosed the Cydonia region on Mars, you could just Google Mars Cydonia. This is where the face of Mars comes from. Everything that he remote viewed was actually there. There's Google Earth for other planets, so you could actually look this up. Just look up the Mars Cydonia region. But he talked about how these type of pyramids and megalithic structures, they exist in other places, and they're power type structures and like conscious structures where you can like send information long distances. Now they have the newly discovered parts of the Giza Plateau that are underneath the surface of the ground, and they have found these with ground penetrating radar. Have you guys seen that? I mean, it's unbelievable, the structures that are below the pyramid that they are just finding out within the last year.
Well, yeah. I don't know. Again, trying to wrap our little puny human brains around it, trying to figure it out. You know, what happened 5, 10, 15,000 years ago. It's amazing.
One thing, like you just mentioned, 5, 10, 15,000 years ago, it's fascinating because like these time frames are being shattered as we speak. We were taught when we were children that Egypt was it, right? Like there was nothing older than that. And we are taught that there was no intelligent civilization prior to that. An intelligent civilization means they made weapons, they hunted with weapons that they made, and they had intelligent language and paintings and such. Well, now we found Gobekli Tepe, and we're finding stuff and stuff and stuff the deeper we dig. So these time frames are all just basically being shattered. We have the Denisovan Needle, 40,000 years old. It appears things go back very far. You have the Adam and Eve story, which got classified, and that talked about how humans go through global cataclysmic events, face near extinction, and then come back. And it's a cycle that constantly repeats itself.
Yeah.
So there's all these things that kind of correlate with one another, and we're in fascinating times now that our government is trying to tell us this. It's like, why? I don't think they really have our best interest at heart. So why are they telling us now? There's got to be a reason. What do you guys think?
I think there's
Let someone smaller than me take this one.
I think there's all the cameras, and I think they can't really keep a lid on it. And a lot of other countries have done stuff too, and they're seeing stuff. And then I don't know. I mean, this is kind of, and I'm curious. I know Interstellar probably has some thoughts about what you guys think too, kind of on the peripheral of this stuff. There's some talk of like something's coming, or the aliens are going to do something. Maybe Stray Atlas was a test run for like there's something headed our way, which I don't know, but I could see maybe that motivating them. But I don't know. It kind of seems like not in their interest to declassify stuff. So it is kind of a conundrum.
Yeah, I agree with you too about the, disclosure. It's almost, impossible to keep it covered at this point with all the mobile phone internet and everything. And obviously it's covered up since the 40s. And so now there's almost undeniable proof that it's everywhere. And so I'm assuming since 2017, since the Nimitz incident, they're slowly disclosing everything, warming us up to the fact that this is real. And also you mentioned the, possible contact. I know I was seeing some talk about 2027 will make contact. And again, it's probably just rumors, right? But I do think that there is something to, okay, let's just slowly disclose everything. That way it won't become a shock. But it's very interesting to see exactly what is going to be disclosed this year, and because we've only received a few little transcripts here and there, maybe some black and white video, and so it's nothing really groundbreaking per se. But I'm sure that we'll get a lot more of
Well,
that
it's not.
towards
It's
the end of
nothing
this year.
groundbreaking, but it is proof that there is something there. It is proof. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think a
Do
lot of
you,
the stuff we're going to get is going to be stuff that's going to not really, make us very satisfied. I think there's a reason they're telling us the things they're showing us. And I want to know the stuff they're not showing us and why they're showing us the stuff they're showing it and why now. I think those are the questions we have to ask. We all have to step outside the box. And, whenever they give you something, you have to ask why. And well, what else are they not giving us? And those questions need to be asked too. So when they're giving
The
us
biggest
stuff,
question I have is the stuff you're not showing us. Why aren't you showing it? Why?
exactly, exactly. And I
What do
think
you have to
that's what,
gain from hiding it, keeping it hidden? What do you have to gain?
yeah, if you're showing me your right hand, what's behind your left hand? And why are you showing me then the right hand? What are you trying to distract me from? Because
Yeah.
that's the real question we should all be asking. That we need to, come at them a little different with that. We should be asking, well, why are you telling us this now? And really start looking through the layers of the onion. And we all should start asking these questions. And there's intelligent people way smarter than me that have been putting their life's research in a lot of this disclosure, all this stuff, all adding it up. And they're going to redact the shit out of this too. We already
Yeah, they
seen some
will.
other files released. This could be redacted, 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 and we'll all have to keep pushing and asking and seeing where that takes us.
Yeah, the old banana in the tailpipe trick.
Exactly. And also to go off Anna Luna, where she's saying, it's a religious aspect. I think that even what Tim Burchett said as well is that he wasn't able to sleep at night, or you won't be able to sleep at night if you've seen what I've seen. And a lot of people were saying this will disrupt the whole, religious aspect of everything. And I think that's been a big talking point the past few months is how it ties to religion and whether that's where we came from. I mean, there's all kinds of questions that I'm assuming they say it's going to collapse society, and they've said that they've had a debate, or higher ups have said, okay, what's the pros and cons of disclosure, and they found out that okay, there's actually a lot more cons to this, and so maybe it's just a slow leak of everything, and so people kind of